get on. Hi, how you doing? Will Perry here. Slightly earlier than normal on a Wednesday. Normally it's 9 o'clock, but because of bank holidays and things, and I've got a mastermind session straight after this, then I had to jiggle the time around to fit. So hope you're well. If you're on the recording, do say hello on the recording. Let me know you're there. Louise, you're going to enjoy this one. The subject tonight is, or the question I have for you is, are you a shit magnet? Do you attract shit to you? And do you think sometimes this, hi Louise, do you sometimes think, yeah, as I just said, you'll like this one, do you sometimes think, just a minute, I attract this stuff to me? This is similar to the a drama triangle that I talked about last time, but you know, you think you just attract drama, you just attract the shit in life to you. It just seems to come from nowhere to you. So my question is, are you a shit magnet? And isn't that a great expression? I love picking up expressions, and I picked this one up recently. I've used a magnet before, but I've never called it a shit magnet, so that might stick, because shit sticks, does it not? So thank you very much for the lady that gave me that. So see first, if you're not, you haven't set me to see first, just go onto the profile where it says following, click that, and you'll get an option of see first or default. So set that to see first. Thank you very much. Then you won't miss out. So if you miss me, then the recording, it'll pop up on notifications and all that sort of stuff. So Louise, you like the shit magnet. So tonight I'm talking about why sometimes people start noticing that they're a bit of a shit magnet, but they don't understand why. And it's a really complex thing. I talk about this all the time, but I want to try and give you a different perspective on it. And perspective is really, really, really important. So in terms of recognizing where, it's a bit like, some people say, or you maybe say about other people, or other people know people to be lucky, or always coming up smelling of roses, all this stuff. But then there's the opposite of that's true for some people. They feel that's true, that they always get the shitty end of the stick. There's all these phrases out there, I think shit magnet is a great one. So I'm talking about metaphors, because you'd have to eat a lot of iron to make your poo metallic. So this is a metaphor, not a simile. A simile is something that actually happens, whereas a metaphor is something that's made up, invented, but it conveys many things, does it not? Shit magnet. So the car. I'm going to use the analogy of driving for this one, okay? Because I've said before about the map, not the territory. In fact, if you saw on my profile, that time hop a year ago today, it came up, whereas it was live just like this one, but it had the globe, a picture of the globe. Now I was a bit anal, and when I did the picture of the globe a year and a week ago, I had to get it right. So not only did I have to kind of try and make it three-dimensional, I had to put England where England was, and Africa where Africa was, and Greenland, and I got a bit obsessed with it, and I took flipping ages doing that. And the point of that was the map is not the territory. It's an NLP term, but it's a really nice, useful thing, and that's what I'm saying here. But it's really difficult, a bit like what I've said in the last few videos, it's really difficult to see when your reference of the world is what you're being brought up around. So cultures are really interesting. I've got that in one of my videos about in the mini-series of 5 videos. Remember, you've probably heard about all these not so savoury experiments they did on monkeys and things, but this wasn't, this is a cultural one. You probably heard about it when they put bananas up. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a very famous one, where they put the bananas up, and every time the monkeys tried to go up towards the bananas to get the bananas, because they were limited on their food, out would come a spray. It would scare them, and they'd they'd run away. And if one of them would go up there, it'd scare them, and they'd go away. So in the end, they learnt not to go up to those bananas, even though they were rationed and they became quite hungry, or so they knew in their culture not to go up to those. Oh, they look really nice as well. Those bananas, okay, And then what they did in the experiment, because that could be learned, then what they did was take out and replace some monkeys. Now, the new monkeys didn't go, oh, fuck, look, monkeys. They didn't do that. They were learnt in their culture not to go up to get those nice, juicy, ripe bananas. Okay, so the monkeys taught them, this is our culture. We don't go up there because it happens, okay? So that's what they described. Must have, somehow. But they didn't just stop there, saying, oh, when new people come into the culture, they learn this culture of not going up there. They replaced every single monkey over time, so that there were no monkeys had seen or experienced this thing that goes on the spray of the bananas. And yet still no monkeys went up there because they knew the culture. The culture was not to go up there because it's scary and you get squirted. Isn't that interesting? So we have a map in here, our culture, and every culture is different. I'm not talking about geographical cultures, I'm talking about family cultures. We're brought up in a culture, and what's normal to us in our family growing up might be really strange. Why do you do that? What do you mean, why do I do that? Why do you do that? We don't do that. We do that after, or we call it tea, not supper. It can be really small things, but then it can be bigger things as well. And self-belief and self-worth is all part of your family culture. Yeah, that makes sense. I talk about this stuff all the time. I hope that makes sense. If it does make sense, hit the love button. Tell me that's coming across. You understand this stuff intuitively. So that's where kind of shit magnet comes as well, from your culture. But the map is not the territory. That's about your culture as well. Your belief about the world comes from your culture, does it not? Your inferences, the influences, everything about what you believe, what the people around you believe. It's a bit like the monkeys and the squirting, and map is not the territory. So this map, and it's a bit crumpled and used, this one. That might be, over time, your understanding of the world, your perspective on the world. But it's not the world. And that's what I asked in that video. If you remember, if you were there with me a year ago, I said, what is this? And it's the world. You all said, the world. And it's a drawing of the world. All right, so that's the map. It's not the territory. That's what all that expression means. So that's the map. Another one is the tube. Now, I thought it was interesting. I reflected to myself. If I was doing this a year ago, I would have had to get the tube map and gone right colours, right, this is a London tube map. Yeah, it's schematics, there's a name for it, I can't remember what it's called, where you kind of make it simple and straight. And the circle line does not go like that, because the tubes, if you see them, they go up, down, the same as the New York subways. They go around all over the place. Hi Sally, how you doing? So that's a map. It's not the actual territory. It doesn't describe the territory exactly. Like this is a generalization of, an interpretation of the territory, of the actual land. It's not the actual land. So it's like we have truths, but we forget that they're not interpretations of the truth or perceptions of the truth. We believe that they are the truth, and that is the way, I hope this is making sense. This is perfectly common sense, is it not? So, let me now introduce, before I tell you about these three ladies, and where shit magnet comes in. Tell me if you like shit magnet. Yeah, you go, yes, well, I'm a shit magnet, or I used to be a shit magnet. I love that. It's hands up. So if you like shit magnet, tell me, because I think it's gonna stick. Car driving, I've used this analogy before, and it's the stages of learning. It's old stuff, particularly in the corporate world, I think, in corporate training, but the 4 different stages of learning. This is really simple stuff, but it's a nice analogy of, if you ask a 3-year-old how you drive a car, you just go, oh, that's it. And literally they mean that's how you drive a car. If you ask somebody like me who's almost 50, fishing for a compliment. Oh, all right, forget that. Somebody like me who's been driving quite a long time, 17, 27, 30, over 30 years. Somebody that's been driving, ask them, what do you think? You laughs. What's it like to drive? Well, what do you do? How do you drive? They're probably saying, oh, you just get in and go, and then if you ask them, they'd, I don't know. Then it would be difficult to download all that stuff, because it's kind of in the autopilot bit, and then you understand that, and that's kind of around this sort of area. It's so embedded in the autopilot that it's a fixed belief almost. It's a given. The truth is fixed, all right? So the terminology is you don't know. So a 3-year-old at the first age with learning to drive a car wouldn't you wouldn't teach them, but they would just say, standing on the seat. They're not aware of the pedals. They don't see them, and that thing makes it go faster, that gear stick. Or if you're an automatic, you don't have that. So it's so then when you're 17, you're learning to drive, you realise you don't know. Oh shit, I don't know that. Oh shit, I don't know that. How can you do that without, oh my God, And then once you learn to drive, you can drive, you know how to drive. You know that, you're consciously aware of how to drive. And this is really basic stuff. And if you don't know it, it's interesting stuff. And the last stage is when you're like me about driving, 30 odd plus years, you don't know that you know, or you don't know what you know, because it's embedded. You're not conscious of even knowing how to drive. Yes, of course you know how to drive. How? If you were to teach a young 17-year-old, you'd go, they would lose, you'd lose them completely, because you'd say, oh, lift the clutch, or balance the clutch, and then, obviously look behind you, and then once you've got the, bike point, second, third, fourth, fifth, but keeping, you whoa, what, how do I start? Oh Christ! Send the key. Put it in neutral. Sorry, neutral. Then whoa. You get the meaning. So actually, these two places are very similar. I meant to have a red pen. Darn it. So these two places are very similar, and it feels like the same thing. The map is not the territory. It feels like that map, and you don't question whether it's real or not. Does that make sense? So you don't question this stuff. It's embedded. It's automatic. It's a belief. It's fixed. You don't think, are there any other ways? It's just the truth. And ain't that the truth? Shit magnet. So, 3 ladies. One I've been speaking to, she took the test. And I said, oh look, you scored low, so what I'd like to do is have a chat with you and help you understand that more. And she said, sorry, I couldn't do it. And she just didn't respond. I said, oh, you were okay, you didn't. Is it because that would make you anxious? Yes. Right. What's going on? And she was previously she's a survivor of a domestic violence in her relationship. And to her, going on a video chat with me, even though I was, breaking down the barriers and blah, 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 and I've shared a bit and stuff, and she will have a chat with me now, but she was like, boom, that was a barrier. She couldn't have a chat with me, a video chat with me, because it was too scary, all right? Driving is scary, says Rachel. So that was too scary to come into the map, beyond her map of where she was, because she'd been damaged, because she'd been domestically abused. All right, and I work with a lot of people that have experienced that and stuff like that. So that was her block. Her block was that she couldn't even speak to me because she'd suffered the trauma and she was still living with that trauma of domestic violence. The next lady, she couldn't speak with me on a video chat that I was offering because she was too anxious and she'd got a lot of anxiety. And again, I come across this a lot because things have happened in the territory, the map, the world, the shit magnets, that again the trauma would set off anxiety within her, overwhelm, and I've talked about this in a few, quite a lot recently about anxiety, and I've talked about some techniques in the free group, the Finding Your Greatness. I've done a technique in there. I'm going to do another one this week as well. Techniques that you can use to control your anxiety. And how cool is that if you're suffering from anxiety? I used to have panic attacks, all linked to low self-worth. She couldn't do that because of the anxiety. It was like too much. So she needs to do a bit of work to expand the map, expand her understanding, to be able to even have that conversation with me, all right? And again, I'll help her with that. Now, the lady that was working with me, she was oppressed. It was really interesting. This was going through the masterminds and everything, but her map of the world, the territory, she wasn't aware of it, and we were trying to shine the light on where is the issue, because she got the issue that she was kind of suppressing it in terms of expressing her feelings, but we didn't know, and she didn't know, and it was like questions, and it was like getting to a really interesting point, but she still didn't know what was going on. So it's like, okay, let's have a one-to-one. She came up with this analogy of everything being suppressed, all her feelings, expressing of her feelings being suppressed, and we could link that back to her childhood. So we aligned the dots, and it all matched up, and it's like, yeah, that would absolutely give you this, this lack of expression, this lack of trust in your own voice, this, don't express yourself. It won't be listened to. It won't be heard. It won't be valued. You're stupid. Build on top of that, and the brain copies and pastes. You can't express yourself. Don't trust your feelings. Don't express your feelings. Just close down on it. Now you can survive on that. You can't thrive though. Does that make sense? If you're not expressing your feelings, if you're not really recognizing your feelings, your emotions, you're not going to thrive. You can do well in life even, but you're not going to thrive. Okay, if you're not in contact with your emotions. So she said it was like having a blanket on everything. Everything was really oppressed. So when I got to what it was like, and people can be oppressed for all sorts of different reasons, for whatever happened to them. This was separation, anxiety, mental health issues in the family, questions that everything was suppressed, not talked about, and as a child that's quite scary. Think, that's me. Am I going to have I got mental health issues? Well, because it wasn't talked about. Everything was suppressed. So guess what? She grew up going suppressed. And it's not good. But these ladies, one of them was spoke about being hit with from domestic violence. Being at one stage, she played it down. Get this, she played it down, but she was hit with a scaffolding pole. Hit with a scaffolding pole by the man she loved. So you get a sense of how extreme that was. And the other one, sexual abuse, to the extent that it was unsure, not trusted. My uncle, I know he looked at stuff, but I don't think he touched me. And what kids do when they can't deal with it, of course they can't deal with it. I've said this many times. They compartmentalise. They can't deal with this stuff. So it's understandable. I come across it a lot. I even come across it when you get the signs. You think there's something not right here, and no, I don't think so. And I've had ladies remember suddenly that they were raped and awful stuff, but as children you can only deal with so much, and you have to compartmentalize stuff. So it's all this stuff links in with the map is not the territory, and the fixed belief and the truth, and you don't trust yourself. Does that make sense? You don't trust yourself. The truth is out there, but it's not here. You don't trust yourself. So can you get a sense of that? And you become a shit magnet. Because all that stuff you project about yourself, then you believe and you put it out there to the world, and if you understand the law of attraction, you get more of it, you attract more of it. So, there's some stuff that goes on, and I want to give you a sense of this. So, I've said the stats of 80% of the people that have low self-esteem, 80% of them have been sexually abused to some extent, all right? Those are my stats of over 1,000 people that have done the test. So, and that bears out with worldwide statistics that I've researched. So this lady, she was feeling very oppressed, and I gave you the example of why she was so oppressed in her feelings. When I started isolating, doing the stuff I do, isolating the voice, it was really, really interesting. It was a voice that was behind her, that was negative, of course, belittling her, undermining her, just saying you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. What's the point? Give up anyway, don't you? That voice in her head, she believed it was her, but we gave a construct to that voice, the tools, and again, I've shared them on these videos. You can go back to the history. This is episode 90. You can go back and look at the episode, click on the episode 90 thingy, and you can get the catalogue there, but it's there. So we did that voice technique and identified that negative voice. And she knew what she wanted to do. We got a big Acme crushing machine and crushed it. But you can't do that until you got the positive voice. We found a positive voice, but it was a very distant thing. And she said, it's like a light shining from above. Even on its own, that's a wonderful metaphor, is it not? A light shining from above. And it finds a tiny part of me, and it grows. I feel emotional. Maybe you don't, but I did it. I was there. It was like, woo, amazing stuff. And it was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. You've been, all these years, you've been suppressed. And then, a light shines from above, and something tiny inside me grows, and it's a wonderful feeling. And it was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a great voice. And I can see how that would work, if you had this negative voice behind you all the time, crushing everything, and the light wouldn't shine through. It would be pooed away. But what we did, we got rid of in the big crushing machine, and then she jumped on top of it and it was buried to the centre of the earth. We got the voice and put it in the centre of the sternum, and it was like, whoosh, she could, turn the volume up, and she could hear it, and she could feel it, and you could, her face lifted. She changed in that moment. It was wonderful. Oh. The oppression was lifted. Okay, now she can make those choices. She can see, once we aligned the past that had given her this oppression, she understood it. Now we gave her the tools to be able to use to change this stuff, and it's wonderful. But I can't do this stuff for everyone, because sometimes they're not ready. They need to see the map of the world is different, and actually they need to see that when you don't know that you don't know is the same, almost exactly the same as that you don't know that you know this stuff. So you have to be seeing it. You have to know that you don't know this stuff. Then you have to work hard get to the point where you know that you know this stuff. Okay, before then you can program your subconscious into autopilot so that you get to the point where you can just drive without thinking about it, drive your life in a positive direction. Does that make sense, if you see my point? So you need a new map of the world, but first you have to see that that is just a fucking map. All right? It's not the truth. It's not the actual territory. It's not the world. The world is a better and a more beautiful place. It's just you're a shit magnet, and it's not your fault. You did nothing wrong. It was the environment you were brought up in. Hallelujah. Does that make sense? Say hallelujah. Does that make sense? Right? Does that make sense to you? I get really passionate about this stuff. And I was saying to a lady that you can't, in fact I said it's many ladies, but my experiences, I've worked with counsellors, psychotherapists, detective judges, people in professions that work with this stuff, that are meant to be well versed in this stuff, that I've helped them understand a new map of the territory that they were actually in, and I helped them confirm that they were in abusive relationships, marriages, and they did not realise it. It's like, oh, what the fuck? And guess what? I had that experience. Oh, what the fuck? In my second marriage that I divorced from. So, you just don't know this stuff. So many people don't know this stuff. Counsellors, psychotherapists, psychologists don't know this stuff. All right, and I've experienced that myself directly, also in the psychologists, blah, 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 that I worked with and helped, but also over the last 10 years, other people that have said, yes, I went to psychotherapy, I went to this, it didn't help. And that's because they don't know this stuff to this level, this depth, okay? So I'm pioneering this stuff. In 20 years, it'll be commonplace, I'll be famous by then, probably. I was going to say nobody will remember me, but fuck it, yeah, they'll remember me. I'm a stand. It's not about being famous. I'm a stand for making this commonplace, for making this understanding there, for giving you the map. All right, and taking away the old map and giving you the new map, showing you the territory even. Cool. How cool is that? So how does that relate to this? And what am I inviting you to do? Remember, I often say, in fact, I always say you can do a test. It starts with a test. So when you're learning to drive, let's go through that. When you're learning to drive, you have to get your provisional, don't you? So you have to get your provisional license. I'm sure it's the same in the States. You have to go and get a bit of paper. Just qualifies you to be able to drive. In the UK here, you have to be the right age. You have to be able to drive, and that's about it. You get that certificate, and that qualifies you. So for me, going through, go Will, thank you. Woo! For me, doing this stuff, who I work with, I think you'll know what I'm going to say. I work with people with low self-belief. To work with me, I'm not going to work with people with high self-belief. Go to somebody else. Go to a motivational coach, because that work with you. All right. If you go to a motivational coach but you've got low self-esteem, it won't work. Ooh. So if you have low self-esteem, you need to work with me. And I'm not saying that arrogantly. Or you need to work with somebody that's a specialist in this field that knows it to this depth. And again, psychotherapists, psychologists, these people don't know it because they've been in abusive relationships themselves. All right. So I'm not being arrogant. All right. It's just I've specialized in this for the last 10 years plus. So to work with me, to work with this stuff, to reverse the polarity of your shit magnet. And that's what we said about this, this lady. Reversing the polarity. That's cool, and that's what we're going to achieve. All right, but how do you reverse the polarity? What you're going to attract? It's not going to be shit, is it? It's going to be, what's the opposite of that for you? What's the opposite of, if we reverse the polarity, and instead of attracting shit, we're going to attract good stuff? But what's that going to be for you? Just think for a moment. What's that good stuff going to be? So this is only relevant to people with the provisional driving license with me, and to get that you have to take the test, and it confirms your low self-esteem, your low self-belief. All right, it's a 2-minute test. You've seen it below. I'll put the link in below. Hopefully you've heard this stuff from me. If you're new, say, well, I'm new. That would be cool. So after you've got your provisional, then what? Do you drive? Do you get in your car? Because that's a Ferrari, but it doesn't look much like a Ferrari. I saw a Renault 5 Gordini last night, turbo thingy. Maybe that looks more like that with a more marked anal. Right. Okay. So Gordini 2. Anyway. So with the vents up here, that's rather cool. You don't just get in and drive. You have to do a theory first. Oh my God! You have to know what the bloody signs mean. You have to know what that means. A roundabout, which way? I just want to drive. So you might get a bit impatient, but really, we need to go through the theory first. That makes sense, does it not? So with me, we'll talk with, maybe the different videos that we've got. These videos, it's all about the theory, is it not? And I'd invite you each time to do the test. 2 minutes, 10 questions, and it's really simple. And if you pass, you're not a shit magnet. Then I'm so happy for you. If you are a shit magnet, you're in the right place. All right. Because I want to help you reverse the polarity of that magnet. So there's a lot of theory stuff, and if you go onto the program, then there's tons of theory stuff. But it's all me doing videos. It's fun. I keep it light and curious. And if you know why that's important in terms of the brain function and learning, then I don't need to tell you. So there's the theory. Then we start the steps of learning how to bloody drive a car. Oh, bloody hell! Gear sticks and mirrors and manoeuvres and all that stuff that somebody here can't teach you because they take it for granted. They'd have to go, what are the stages, what are the steps, That's equally why somebody that's maybe a psychotherapist, a coach or a counsellor that isn't aware of this stuff can't teach you, because they don't know it to this level. But somebody that really understands, a driving instructor, has got those stages already mapped out for you, as I have for you if you're a shit magnet. How many times can I say shit magnet? Is somebody going to go back and count shit magnet times? Shit magnet times? Shit magnet times and that? Okay, so of course the steps to the steps to driving, and however many steps you need to be able to become proficient in a car. I took my test 1 week after my 17th birthday. You have to be 17 in the UK, and failed. I phoned my dad in tears. He had a job lined up for me. I was brought up in the motor trade, so it was in my blood, and he could not believe, and then realised from his sobbing 17-year-old son that the world had ended because I failed my test. It was actually a really good thing. Like many things, when it goes wrong, there's a learning there. And I was far too arrogant. I was far too cocky. I was driving, right? I was driving rather than showing and demonstrating that I knew how to pass a test. All right, because when you learn to drive, you don't get sitting and right, let's go on the motorway. You don't know how to drive. All right, so that's where all the steps are. And you go through, the instructor gives you as many steps as you need to. If you need to take 20, you take 20. I took one, ready, bump, failed. And then took a few more. And, oh, right, I need to learn. I need to demonstrate that I'm driving like a nervous driver, not, Anyway, so if you need more steps, if you need less steps, that's tailored to you by the driving instructor. Excellent. And then what happens? You go for your mock test. I'm sure you remember that sort of thing. Are you ready? Let's test it. This is the environment that you will be in. Now, why do I put that there? Because at this point, this is where some people go out and say, I've got all this raft of experience. I understand this theoretically. I've been in this. This is my past. I can now become a coach. I can now become a life coach. I can become a counsellor. I can become a psychotherapist. I can become boom, 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 and help people because I'm so passionate. I want to help people. All right, and I get that a lot. I come across people. I can see people that are shit magnets yet are trying to help people, being coaches, and I'm not dissing that at all. All right, that's the issue, current issue in the environment at the moment. 20 years will be different. All right, 20 years time it will be very different. But at the moment, in fact, I saw, and I said this last time, I think there was somebody that had I saw an online course for a life coach down to 29 from 209, and I thought, wow, there's a bargain. With no one-to-one experience, no support, counselling, coaching, wow. So you can get a bit of paper that says you're qualified. Does that mean you're a driver? Does that mean that you can do it? Once you get to the stage of mock test, does that mean you're a driver and you're a proficient driver? No, because what is it? It's the test that's next, isn't it? Test, qualification, getting out there and doing it. But beyond there, it's years of driving, is it not? Okay, so you can, at this point, and I do see people coaching and helping other people. And this is the key. This is the key, okay? If you're wanting to help people, you can help more people if you reverse the polarity of your shit magnet. Or, like the lady said today, the wonderful lady said, blow that shit out of the water. I think it was. Blow that shit up. So you need to blow that shit up yourself, all right, first, before being able to help others. Because once you are a person that's blown your own shit up, you can help other people blow their own shit up, because you know that last vital stage to actually driving, all right? Becoming a driver, a professional, a proficient driver on your own. All right, not with somebody else there, not with somebody testing there, not just the test. Beyond that, becoming a proficient driver. And for me, this analogy, overcoming your low self-belief, overcoming your low self-esteem, dominating, blowing that shit up. All right, living the life you want, actually putting it into action. And that's why, for me, the action learning things we do, the modeling of the mastermind groups is so important, because it's putting this stuff into action. If you want to become a life coach, help other people, but you're still stuck at this place, how can you help them? If you're not I was going to say racing driver. If you're a racing driver and you're trying to teach people to drive, you won't help them. You might make them go fast, but yeah, you won't help them. So how can you help somebody learn to drive if you can't drive yourself? Does that make sense? Of course it does. So the feeling might be very similar. You might feel like you know this stuff, all right, but you actually don't know this stuff, but it feels the same. Do you remember I said? And your map, your understanding might confirm to you that absolutely, because that is the truth. But it isn't. That's a representation of the truth. So if you're here, you've got all that work, and believe me, this hard work, it's commendable, and you can help people. All right, but how can you help somebody really smash this, to reverse the polarity, if you haven't done it yourself? So you have to work on yourself first. You have to blow that shit before you can help anybody else blow that shit. And I see it a lot on social media. I see a lot of people out there coaching. I see a lot of people out there. Again, I'm not dissing it, because I'm sure they help. In the past, in my journey, in the last 10 years, I've helped people, but I haven't helped them blow their shit. For some people I know, I haven't helped them blow their shit because I was still caught up in mine. All right, learn by mistakes. So let me help you shortcut that. You have to blow your own shit up first before you can help somebody else blow their shit up first. And that will help you reverse the polarity of your magnet. And we'll put it in the comments. What would it be for you? Instead of being a shit magnet, what will it be for you? You'd be a magnet. What sort of magnet? Put in the comments. So you need to be doing the art of driving, and driving well, whereas before you couldn't drive. Okay, in the analogy with low self-esteem, you were driving the handbrake on. All right, I say that many times. It's not my expression. It's low self-esteem is like driving through life with the handbrake on. That's the expression. So driving and overcoming your low self-esteem will enable you to take the handbrake off and drive through life and get what you want by working through it, by hitting the lows and working through them, bouncing back, by being determined, by being all that sort of stuff. Does this make sense? All right, comments below. I will answer all the comments below. I'm going to go and do one of my mastermind sessions, and we're on the penultimate one, the 11th of 12. Very excited by it. It's an amazing experience. It's a wonderful experience. I feel very privileged to be able to do it. So I hope that's interesting. I hope that helps. So this lady, I'm going to go and talk to her actually, but amazing, how once you align everything up and do the work that you need to do to understand how this stuff happened, how that voice came into effect, it all makes perfect sense. Only then can you use the tools to actually break this stuff and change it. Because if we have these tools and say, oh, I just do that, boom, I got the tools, but I invested in the tools 10 years ago and it didn't work. And it's like, shit, how come this didn't work? I know these tools can work. I know that it's not the tools that are wrong. It's not the tools. Awesome magnet, thank you. Shit magnet, how many times? Is somebody going to go back and count it? Rachel, I reckon you're the sort of obsessive person that would go back and count shit magnet. And that wasn't, I wasn't asking you to, and that was just a bit of fun. So I hope this makes sense, that metaphor. My challenge to you, I should have said at the beginning, there's an awesome challenge. Here's the awesome challenge. Your challenge tonight is, and your prize, let me give you your prize. Your prize is 20-minute free session with me. Right, I work really quickly and I help you, help you spot this, and I'll show you where your map is, where the truth is in your map, okay, and maybe help you rip up your map. Your challenge is, what is your metaphor? I love pictures. I love people's metaphors. That came from somebody's metaphor. Metaphors. I'm training this stuff. I've developed this side of it. That's why I work in pictures. Metaphors are immensely powerful. All right. So anybody that sends me a metaphor, and you don't have to put it on this public post, that's fine because it's a public thing. You send me on Messenger. So if you have to friend request me first, that's absolutely fine. Friend request me, send me on direct message, send me a picture that you draw. And this is, I went to art school, by the way. I did actually go to Farmer School of Art, but I'm talking about stick men and people. It's not about the art, although sometimes I do get into it, but obviously not, you know, it's not about the art. It's about a way of expressing your feelings. So how does it feel where you are now? How does it feel? It feels like, and then draw your picture. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, rolling a boulder up a hill, you know, wading through treacle. Those are common metaphors, all right? We don't do that in real life, but it's common metaphor. What is your metaphor? Send it to me. Anybody that I receive a metaphor from, be it from the recording or this live, I will give you a 20 minutes of my time for absolute no money, for free, because I want to help you. All right, so there's a challenge. If you've got any questions on it, ask me there below. Otherwise, do share this. Do share this either privately or in a group, or, you know, if that helps. You know, if you've got value in it and you think other people can get value from it, but, you know, do by all means share this value, this content. I want to help more people. So there's your challenge, your metaphor, your pictures. Draw it in pictures, not words. All right, and then you'll have to explain it to me. But that will be the starting point. The qualification point is send me your picture, draw your picture. It's not about the art, it's about the picture and expressing how you feel. What is your metaphor? How you currently feel. I feel like. I feel like. So life at the moment, how is it? It feels like. It feels like. ... The ... is your picture. I hope that makes sense. Many thanks. I'm going to go and do a mastermind session there. All right. Love to you all. Many thanks for watching and supporting me help more people. All right. Lots of love. Bye-bye.